the other leftover, our first executive action we're going to talk about is TikTok. Dave.
Yes. Okay. So, as you would be aware, Congress passed legislation in the middle of last year that said that ByteDance, which is the parent company of TikTok, had a certain number of days, was it 75 days?
Don't remember.
To find a foreign buyer, or else they would be banned from the United States.
Yes.
And that the time was calculated so it'd be right when the presidency was changing over.
Just to be clear, sorry, when you say banned from the United States, they could operate in the United States. What couldn't happen is the app stores weren't allowed to to have their app anymore after that. So people couldn't renew it. Whenever it was updated, it would gradually become obsolete.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, towards the end of the Biden administration, it became increasingly clear that there was going to be a lot of confusion around this.
Yes.
Okay, so let's actually go right back to the beginning of this story, which is 2020.
Yep.
When the TikTok ban was first proposed by an enraged President Trump.
Yes.
You may remember because a bunch of K-pop fans had pulled a particularly cruel prank of inundating the tickets for Trump's first post-COVID rally.
Oklahoma, was
Tulsa, on June 6th, making the Trump team think that they had sold 800,000 tickets when actually they'd sold 6,000. Yes. So a big disappointment for everyone. Then Trump started proposing that TikTok should be banned.
I forgot that.
Now, so this idea was kicked around for a long time, got a lot of bipartisan momentum because being tough on China is the most bipartisan issue there is in the United States. We talked before last year about why we thought it was a bad idea. Like all of the concerns about the privacy of Americans' data. Yes, ByteDance poses a threat to that, but no more than every American company that openly sells Americans' data in the marketplace.
Yes.
So I didn't see that as a good justification. And
actually, before you go on, can I just read an AOC Instagram transcript about this exact topic? It was some good stuff. She said last year when they brought this ban up for a vote, because she was against the ban, when they brought this ban for a vote, they said it's a national security issue. I said, okay, that's serious. Let's see the case. Let's see the intelligence. I can tell you that what was presented to all the members voting on this thing was not very compelling. There was no real information that was given that was a smoking gun, that was anything specific, that was very convincing. In fact, very high-ranking members on the House Foreign Affairs Committee came to me after the briefing and they were shocked at the lack of substantive information in the briefing. They were genuinely expecting there to be some real or compelling intelligence shared that would substantiate the argument, and there just wasn't.
Exactly. And one of the things that pissed me off about it, and I think I said this at the time, was that this could happen because TikTok is not the social media platform of the media and political class, right? Someone else's social media platform, it's fine to scream about the need to ban it. If you threatened to ban Twitter, the mass crying that you would have had from journalists and politicians, even though Twitter poses exactly the same problems, you would have been able to hear it from Sydney. But because of the fact that this was not their social media platform, not something they really understood, but it's not mine either. I don't have TikTok. I actively avoid trying to see it. But nonetheless, I know that it's something that people like. So imagine my surprise when Trump starts saying very similar things.
Yes.
He says the kids seem to like it.
Yeah.
They do. And
should we get to the real reason why he's supporting TikTok?
Because ByteDance.
Let's play it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to start thinking about TikTok. I think we're going to have to start thinking. Because, we did go on TikTok and we had a great response with billions of views, billions and billions of views. They brought me a chart. And it was a record, and it was so beautiful to see. And as I looked at it, I said, maybe we got to keep this sucker around a little while. Who wants to?
That's why.
Yeah.
I got to say, me and Trump, we have our differences sometimes, but I like a man that likes a graph. He definitely likes a graph.
And also, the ByteDance executive cozy up to him pretty.
Yeah, big time.
Pretty significantly.
Serious sucking up.
So anyway, but for whatever reasons, I think that Trump's change of heart on this was correct. However, that came too late. Congress was still pretty committed to this legislation. Congress passed it. It stood up to a Supreme Court challenge. And so, it's the law now that ByteDance has to find a buyer. But on the last day of his administration, Biden said his administration wasn't going to enforce this.
Yes.
They were going to leave it to Trump.
Yeah.
He absolutely would have known that Trump was not going to enforce it. So at the same time, you have Chuck Schumer, who I believe voted for the legislation to ban TikTok, saying, oh no, ByteDance needs more time.
Yes.
It tried to introduce legislation to give ByteDance more time. That was shot down by Tom Cotton. Okay, so now what's happening is...
Hang on. The legislation offers them more time, but no one took advantage of it. Like, just quickly, the law... Are you about to say this or?
No.
Okay. The law says that you can stay its enforcement for 90 days while ByteDance negotiates a sale. All that has to happen is Trump has to certify the Congress that A path to executing a qualified divestiture has been identified with respect to such an application. B, evidence of significant progress towards executing such qualified divestiture has been produced with respect to such application. And C, there are in place the relevant binding legal agreements to enable execution of such qualified divestiture during the period of such extension. Now, leaving aside the fact that Trump could easily just lie because that's what he does, and then he'd get 90 days, it has to be said that ByteDance were making no efforts whatsoever to take advantage of that 90 days.
Because they're not planning to sell.
Yeah, and remember, this is actually a point that the people who are against TikTok make all the time.
Yeah.
That ByteDance seem to prefer to go out of business than to sell. And they go, well, that's the proof that the Chinese government is using this for nefarious purposes because they're telling ByteDance to not take billions of dollars and to go out of business instead. Even though they sold Grindr a few years back easily, no problems. No one cared about selling Grindr because that was originally a Chinese app.
Yeah.
So that's the point that they make. But anyway, go on.
Yeah. So TikTok actually initially took itself out.
They did.
Yeah.
They didn't have to. Like I said, it was just about the App Store. Yes. They could have just kept running.
They took themselves out. And there was this brief, very interesting cultural moment that lasted a couple of days where more than 1 million Americans calling themselves TikTok refugees went to Xiaohongshu, a Chinese social media platform known in the West as Red Note, but Xiaohongshu literally translates as Little Red Book. Anyway, so when these Americans arrived on Xiaohongshu, they found all of these very friendly, they were greeted by all these very friendly Chinese netizens. These Chinese netizens told them, well, the price of being here is that you have to give us cat photos. That's the cat tax. So there's all these exchanges of cats and all these Americans asking like, wow, why are American cats so thin and pointy and the Chinese cats are so round? So all of these interesting cross-cultural exchanges. One of the interesting things about Xiaohongshu, though, is it's the only Chinese social media platform that doesn't have a separate platform for foreigners. So it was scrambling to find English language employees who they might have to use to actually censor discourse on Xiaohongshu. But I think that the netizens made it very clear, like, we don't discuss politics over here. Although they were very happy when asked to tell the Americans about how great China is. Yeah. Anyway, that is a story that is that will be told in more in the fullness of time. But it was a very interesting little cultural moment. But then, okay, so back to TikTok. 48 hours later, TikTok is back with a notice on the App Store saying, thanks to the efforts of President Trump, like everybody has learned how to play this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're back. Trump's been talking about Microsoft as a potential buyer.
Yeah, and what were they called? Oracle?
Yeah. So all these various companies that have taken massive hits to their stock prices over the last few days, thanks to DeepSeek. Yeah. We'll get to that, I think, in another week.
Yeah.
Let's get to the real issue here, though. Trump is just ignoring a law that has been passed by Congress.
He is.
That
completely ignoring
is a very bad precedent. He's basically getting no pushback from Congress, no pushback from any part of Congress. And I mean, it's not as bad as usurping Congress's entire budgetary authority, which is getting some pushback. But it's bad. It means in the future, if the US government wants to punish a company for some reason, probably for a more legitimate reason than this, then the president can just choose to ignore it if the company has bought its way into the president's favor.
Trump is just ignoring so many laws. The Inspector General's one, the Foreign Inspector General's is the same thing, just ignoring a law. And you just go, well, what are you going to do about it? I'm the one who's got the DOJ.
Yeah, that one also at least got some pushback from Congress. This has just had none. But I mean, looking at the behavior of everybody involved, looking at Chuck Schumer trying to buy more time, looking at Biden saying, I'm not going to bother enforcing this. Was anybody serious about this shit in the first place? Did anybody actually think that this was a threat to national security?
Let me read you some quotes.
Yes.
I want to read you a quote from Mike McCall, who is the guy who sponsored the bill.
Yeah.
We have a law that I got passed. The Supreme Court upheld it. He's using his executive powers to delay enforcement pending a negotiated resolution to the matter. So if he can facilitate a deal where the intent of the statute's carried out, and that is a divestment of ByteDance to an American company, then I think we achieve the result we want. So he's cool with that.
That guy ate his own spine for Thanksgiving.
Senator Kevin Cramer, I think it's within the spirit of the law. If anyone wants to litigate against it, they can. And we'll see what the courts will do. But I do think it's within the spirit of the law.
It is within the spirit of the law in that it was a bullshit law that no one actually believed in.
Yeah. We should also say, I mean, I did introduce this by saying there's an exec order about this as well. Like Trump has written an exec order as an alternative to a piece of legislation. And just in case there's any doubt, legislation trumps executive orders.
Yes.
Okay, so there's no doubt about that. The executive order is, I'll read the nut graph. I'm instructing the Attorney General not to take any action to enforce the Act for a period of 75 days from today to allow my administration an opportunity to determine the appropriate course forward in an orderly way that protects national security while avoiding an abrupt shutdown of a communications platform used by millions of Americans. I further order the Attorney General to issue a letter to each provider stating that there has been no violation of the statute and that there is no liability for any conduct that occurred during the above specified period, as well as for any conduct from the effective date of the Act until the issuance of this executive order. Now, look, to be clear, the president can choose not to enforce a bill. That happens all the time. Barack Obama famously did that with DACA.
Yep.
Right, the kids who were the illegal immigrants who were brought over when they were 3 years or 4 years old, then grew up as American citizens, essentially. But you can't just declare there is no violation of the statute.
Yes,
like there's still a violation, and future presidents can prosecute that violation because there's a 5-year statute of limitations. Trump cannot just disappear a violation. He can just choose not to prosecute that violation. So by him not enforcing the law, that's not breaking the law. Him writing an executive order that explicitly contradicts the law, that's breaking the law.
That is indeed breaking the law.
Yeah. It's but Trump has essentially placed himself above Congress in an authoritarian, extra-legal manner. And they have said, yes, please, give me more.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, maybe that's a consequence of just passing bullshit laws that no one actually believes in the first place. But even those bullshit laws, if they're laws, you should hold the president to them, which Congress is just not doing. So, I knew that none of this would end well, but I didn't quite know how badly it was going to end.
It's actually slightly worse. It's slightly worse even than this.
Okay.
Because think about the situation that TikTok is now in. They are in a position where they are operating illegally.
Yes.
And they know it. They've got lawyers telling them they're operating illegally, right? And they know that they are beholden to Trump's whims.
Mm-hmm.
If they displease him, he can prosecute them.
Yes.
He has the ability and he has the legal justification. It would be hard for Trump to turn around and just say, just kidding, and just getting them, because then they would argue in court that they were pleading, that they were relying on his promises. And so the court would probably take some pity on them. But still, the fact is they are 100% a hostage of Trump's. He can choose literally whatever to do with them. Like he's trying right now to organize a great deal for them. So he can give them positive things and he can give them horrible things.
Yes.
By the way, China seems receptive to this as well. They're going along with this. When Trump's talking about Microsoft and Oracle, China is not saying, no, we're not going to sell. They're actually being receptive. So China's part of the game as well. And this is the kind of leverage the president should not have. He owns the country's biggest social media engine now.
Yes.
No, not physically owns, but just he's got them by the balls.
Yes.
And Congress somehow has been dealt out of their own power at the same time. It's Trump's got a PR machine now. He's got his entire engine that's a PR machine, who, by the way, have shown the reason this bill exists is they've shown an ability and an inclination to mess with the messages, the posts on their engine.
Yeah.
So he's got a corrupt PR machine at his disposal now.
Yes, he does.
And he's arrogated authority the Constitution does not give him. I hate this. This is terrible.
It is awful.
This is the worst possible scenario.
Yeah.
There you go. Anyway, anything else on that?
We've mentioned before the Simpsons episode with the DJ 3000 that's threatening to replace the morning radio hosts. You can press a button that says, "Those clowns in Congress have done it again."
Looks like those clowns in Congress did it again. What a bunch of clowns.
How does he keep up with the news like that?
We need that button.